I owe a lot of gratitude to my father, and my mother and father, but I probably haven't told him half enough, and I should tell him a lot more of what he has done for me and what he means to me in terms of everywhere. When I was a young fella, before I could even grow up, he was bringing me everywhere, and I always bring the hurling ball with me, and I suppose that developed my passion for hurling. And obviously, I don't remember him playing for Limerick, but I've seen the videos.
Jim Troy today playing in his 23rd championship match. Gearóid Hegarty under the dropping ball, batting it down, keeping it away from John Troy. Really fired up for the occasion, making sure he wasn't pooped on his left-hand side. Did well to come back from a career-threatening cruciate ligament injury back in October 1992.
He's been absolutely brilliant to me, and also my mother also comes from a very big sporting family, from Kilcormac and Offaly, and yeah, they've been absolutely brilliant to me. And as I said, I probably don't tell them half enough, but this award that I have won wouldn't have been possible without them looking after me over the years. And my mother is over and under me in terms of in the lead up to games and making sure that the dinners are all healthy, and that there's nice snacks in the fridge, and that everything is okay. Even on the morning of a game, like, I'd be quite superstitious myself, but it probably comes from her, because I'm not allowed to leave the house on the morning of a game without the holy water coming out. And she blesses my hurley, she blesses my gear, she blesses the bag, she blesses myself, and a hug and a kiss before I go off. And they're all special moments, you know. And it's just such a pity that they weren't able to go to games this year because of how the year went, both on a team level and a personal level. But hopefully they'll be able to go back sooner rather than later. But yeah, obviously I owe them so much, so much. It's funny how things go. Like, obviously lockdown happened, and I've three sisters and a brother, and only one has moved out, but she only moved out recently. So we were all kind of at home over lockdown. And it's funny how things go. Like, you know, you think when we weren't in lockdown, say, the things that we have started doing over lockdown that we didn't do before, that you think, why were we never doing that? It's just simple things like sitting down for a dinner together. Like, we never did that, because there's always someone running a race in somewhere. There's always somebody at training, or my mother's dropping somebody to training, or collecting them from school or something like that. And I suppose life has slowed down over the last number of months, unfortunately due to this horrible virus that we're living in. But I suppose all you can do is make the best of it. My brother Dermot and my youngest sister Grace, like, all I did over lockdown was poke around with them. Just kept sharp by poking around with them. My sister Ciara it helps out my mother in terms of cooking dinners, and my other sister Anya, who has moved out and isn't at home as much, but she's great for organising the parties and stuff like that after the game. So everybody plays a role, I suppose, in making sure that I'm ready for matches, which sounds a bit selfish out of me, but I suppose they're all huge hurling fans as well. Like, all I ever wanted to do was play for Limerick when I grew up. I never thought of winning All-Irelands or anything like that, or Hurlers a year, or All-Stars, anything like that. All I ever wanted to do was emulate my father and play for Limerick. And I suppose I was lucky enough, TJ Ryan gave me my opportunity in 2016 after we won the Under-21 All-Ireland with John in 2015. I still remember my debut. It was one of my favourite moments to this day. We were beaten on the same day, but we played Tipperary, Blow and Thurles, and myself and Richie English, maybe a couple more, made our debuts that day. And I suppose it's mad to think that that's 5 years ago now, and I'm going into my 6th year as a Limerick senior hurler, because time is flying, I suppose. And I suppose, like, you just have to realise that you don't have too long at the top level of any sport, you know. And like, before you know it, as I said, going into my 6th year as a senior hurler now, another couple of years, you know, you not many progress on past into double digits. So you just have to make the best of it. You just have to make the best of it when you're in there. And we're lucky enough to be involved as players, to be involved in an unbelievable setup that John has obviously created over the last number of years, and has some special people involved with us. Caroline obviously Curd, and Paul Kinnerk and Mikey Kiley, they've all got praise and mention over the last number of months, and rightly so, because John has created a super team that we all just love being involved in. And I suppose we can't wait to get back training. We're obviously not allowed to train at the moment, but I'm just so looking forward to the 2021 season, whether that be behind closed doors or not. 2020 was obviously a very difficult year, and everybody had their own difficulties, and none more than my own. I thought it was just so hard to be motivated in terms of training and stuff for such a long period over there, when the championship, nobody knew where the championship was going to hit or not. So I'm just looking forward to the 2021 season, getting the show back on the road again.
He's an exceptional athlete, you know. He played a lot of football before he got involved in the hurling, so, you know, he's a midfielder at that. So he was used to going box to box as a footballer. So bringing that energy and bringing that, you know, yardage that you cover, it makes it really, really difficult for a defender to defend. And do I stick? Do I go? Do I stick? Do I go? That question, that dilemma is constantly being asked of the defender, because the defender doesn't want to leave an acre of space behind for another forward to come into So it's a really difficult dilemma for the halfback. But listen, it's a team game, it's a team sport, and whilst Gearoid's performances were of a very high calibre during the course of the year, he was on a team where the team were performing at a very high level, and that's what makes it really possible for a player to excel to those levels of performance.
Limerick continue on. That was a pass from Darragh Donovan, and that ball is going inside the post over the crossbar for Gearoid Hegarty's 4th point of the match.
Some days the ball runs for you and some days it doesn't, and I just know that happens, and I suppose it did run for me quite a lot this year, which is great. But yeah, it is a lot of hard work, and like we focus on training so much in terms of the movement of the ball and giving the ball to the man in the best position. And I know it sounds simple, or I know it's probably not what you would expect, but that's all it is. It's just based on hard work and giving the ball to the man in the best position. And as I said, it does sound simple, but we just working it over and over and over again inside in training, and you just expect to bring it to game day then when you have a game. So obviously our performances this level were quite good, and I believe that they improved as the year went on.
The standards for a player of his calibre and his position, what he's expected to achieve and what he's expected to deliver on. So we're constantly challenging the players to try and supersede those levels of performance, and they're challenging themselves to achieve those levels of performance. So it doesn't surprise me. Is there room for more improvement? Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And he should be chasing that down now, going on in his career, knowing that he can achieve this level of performance consistently. He can look to go even higher.
Again, it's the Morrissey-Hegarty combination that is killing Waterford.
These players have been playing with each other for so many years now, from a very young age, so they do have a great understanding of each other's movement and each other's strengths and predictability as to what a player might do with the ball once he gets on the ball.
Tom Morrissey is the number 12. Ball inside for Gearoid Hegarty, bearing down on goal, decided not to test out Stephen O'Keefe again.
You also have that coupled then with the work that they're doing in training every night, every week, and the challenge that's been put to them in that environment to do what they're doing to a higher standard repetitively. So it's a combination of all the different factors, and I suppose there's one other factor that allows that to happen in my mind, and that's the enjoyment and the fun aspect of the game, and that's never lost really. I think if you are enjoying your hurling and enjoying your work with your teammates, it'll come out in the performance of the team. And I think that's one thing that our team really had this year, was a tremendous sense of enjoyment, privilege to be playing, and fun when we were at it. And I thought that was exemplified in our performances during the course of the year.
John is our manager, John's our leader. He keeps us grounded, he keeps us driven. Without him we wouldn't have the success that we have achieved over the last number of years, and as I said, he deserves huge credit for what he has done with us. But I'm sure he's already looking forward. John doesn't look back too often. By the time you might analyse a game on a Tuesday night after a Sunday, and then that's it. After that, then you're looking forward to the next game or the next training session. And as I said, we place huge emphasis on our work rate at training and try to bring that to games. And John is heavily involved in that, let me tell you. And I'm sure you can imagine he's quite vocal as a person, and he lets his feelings be known when he's not happy with the standards of training. But as a group of players, we have obviously matured over the last number of years, and although we are, I suppose our average age is youngish, but there's a fair group of players that are there a good number of years now. So we know what's required at training and at matches, and I suppose with all those experiences, you just try and keep improving, and the more experience you get, the more able you are to adapt to the different situations that do come about in games. Because every game is different, and every team that you play is different. I have a PlayStation. That's one thing that kept me going over lockdown, I suppose, when I played a nice bit of FIFA and Call of Duty, and it's all about finding out what works best for you. It's something that I would have struggled before with is how to switch off before a game. I always found it tough. I'd always be thinking about the game during the week, and you don't want to be burning nervous energy, I suppose, in the lead up to a game, because it's obviously you may be flat then on the day. So I've a couple of dogs. I love going for a walk with a dog. Obviously, when 5k restrictions aren't there, I love going down for a walk on the beach in Ballybunion, and I like an old game of golf when possible. Obviously, you can't be playing golf in the lead up to a game, but my girlfriend has 2 dogs, Hardy and Luna, and I'm not sure are they mine or not. And then we've 3 at home myself. Teddy will be the main fella. But yeah, look, I've plenty of things to be doing. As I said, I do have plenty of spare time. I'm a huge sports fan. I love watching all types of sports, and sport is always changing. It's always improving. There's always new tactics. There's always people with new ideas coming in. And even if you look at soccer nowadays, the importance is put on holding the ball and keeping possession. Even goalies nowadays, once upon a time, a goalie had to save the ball, and that was it. They didn't have to use their feet. Whereas nowadays, all the top goalies in soccer are so important in keep holding onto the ball and being able to pass it well. So it's the same in hurling. Lucky enough to be a teacher in Desmond College in Newcastle West as well, and obviously the hours there aren't too taxing on the body, and again, I'm looked after so well there by the staff and Principal Vorneen as well there. So as I said, it's a privilege to be in this position.
The performance in the conditions in Cork versus Tipperary in the Munster Championship, that was extraordinary, I thought, by both teams really, to be honest with you, but we were marginally better on the day. It was horrific, right? And the quality of the striking of the ball on the day, the quality of the fielding on the day, the quality of the touch, the pickups, the hand passes, the runs off the shoulder. It was an incredible performance in those conditions. It was one of those days you just had to embrace it. If you went out with the idea that this was just a terrible thing for us to have to endure, it was going to be torture. And we had to, and we said it before the game, let's embrace this. Let's really take it on for the challenge that it is. And how satisfying was it afterwards to have come through it and to have produced a performance like they did on the day. That for me was one of great satisfaction, even though it was the coldest, most miserable journey home that I'll ever endure. I was I actually wasn't right for about 3 days after it. I was so frozen to the core. It was incredible. It was wicked.
A lot of the highlights that flashed into my mind weren't actually from the field. Like one of my favourite highlights was obviously today the All-Ireland, but the morning of the All-Ireland, I'm sure some people had seen it on social media. My club, a lot of the members of my club and my family and close friends lined up along the street just outside my house, wishing me luck and flags and clapping on the way out to the train station. My mother was dropping me down to the train station 9:30 on the Sunday morning of the game of the All-Ireland. Things like that stay with you so much. And like some great moments obviously are after we won the All-Ireland this year on the field, and obviously we went back into the dressing room then, and you just like we were in the dressing room for a couple of hours after the game. Like I'd say the lads that we were getting the food off and the cleaners were freaking out because we weren't getting out, because once that moment is gone and you're gone out of the stadium, that's kind of it. And they're the real special moments. Like that makes all the hard training that you do in November, December, January in a normal year, I suppose, in the wind and rain out in Rackhill, which is a strange location because it's never warm, ever. It's always freezing cold and raining out there, and that makes it all worthwhile, I suppose, those couple of hours after the game. It's great moments.
There wasn't that many occasions for anybody to celebrate anything last year, and we had that moment in the dressing room after the All-Ireland, when we were, in our bubble, and a lot of emotion was probably released in that environment, during that time, because it was pent up in everybody. It probably is still, a lot of it is pent up there. I think that's something that'll need an outlet when we're finished, dealing with the pandemic, is giving people an opportunity to get that emotion out of themselves. And what a greater place that you could do it in, in Thurles or in Croke Park or Páirc Keeve, and let people show their real passion and emotion. And I can't wait to see the crowds back in the grounds again and supporting the team, because we need them back. That's what's really missing from our game right now. It's super important that we get the fans back into our stadia. And please God, 2021 will see that happen.
That's one huge goal that I have this year, is to get the club back up into the intermediate ranks where we should be and progress. But I suppose, look, as a young fella, as I said, I love sports, and I'd watch all sorts of sports, and I'd always see people winning different awards, individual awards in all different sports. And my motto and my advice to people is that somebody has to win them. So why not you? I'm a huge believer in that. Anything is possible to achieve if you're willing to put in the hard work. I hate excuses. There's 168 hours in the week. If you really want to do something, you will find the time. You will find the time to put in the work. And as I said, as I always say, there's no secret formula to success. It's just putting in the work, whether that be studying to be a doctor or being a rugby player for Ireland or whatever it is. If you're willing to put in the work, anything is achievable. And I know that is a bit of a cliche, but it is so true. Like, as I said, 168 hours in the week. If you really want to do something, you will find the time. Anyone that wants to make excuses can make excuses. You won't make excuses if you really want something. The amount of untapped potential in people, I believe, is huge. A lot of people unfortunately live in their comfort zone, and they're happy enough to just go along in a job that they maybe not like Monday to Friday and get to the weekend and wasting their life away, wishing their life away even, So as I said, if you really want to do something, you will put in the time, you will put in the work, and I'm a huge believer in that.